Hey, in this video, I'll be talking to you about how your nervous system limits you from being truly authentic and truly confident. This is the limitation that is on you. When you fix your nervous system and you heal it and you get it balanced, then you find out who you truly are. Then you find true core confidence. But for those people who are living in survival, you won't know what true confidence is. You won't know who you truly are. So what I want to do in this video is I want to point you in the right direction. What should you be working on to find more of yourself? Now, when people say be yourself or be authentic, it's difficult to kind of quantify that. I mean, what does that even mean if somebody says be yourself, right? I used to hear this a lot and I'm like, what does that even mean? How do I know I'm being myself, right? It's not something you can really think about. To really know yourself means you're in tune with yourself. Okay, this goes beyond thought and thinking. It's truly knowing your being more on a physiological, somatic level, on the level of your body, right? You feel yourself. And when you truly know yourself, it feels a certain way. You can say it kind of feels, there's a warmth to it. It kind of feels good. Not necessarily like ecstasy, but just a low level kind of peace. And you just feel in alignment with yourself. However, people who are in trauma or survival mode, they have so much mental noise and emotional noise, like negativity, that it drowns out this connection that they should have with their true essence. This is probably the deepest damaging part of trauma and living in survival. Like, it breaks that connection you have with yourself. And then a lot of the decisions you make, the way you go through your life, you're just all in your head. You think it's all logical and mind stuff, but it's not, right? That's what your trauma has made you do, is made you live in your head. You've lost touch with your being, okay? And when you're living in your head all the time, I hate to say, but most of the decisions you make are not probably going to be very good decisions and choices because you've got no kind of internal guidance. When you're authentic and you're connected to yourself, now you're tuned into like this internal GPS. Now we're getting signs and signals from your internal system which are kind of influencing and directing where you go and the choices you make. And because you are more in tune with your being and you trust what you feel and you act on that, naturally you can see that you're now living more in alignment and you're more likely to make the right choices rather than being too much in your head and overthinking everything. And like I said, 9 times out of 10 making the bad choice or the wrong decision. Now, there's a couple of reasons this happens. The first one is our modern society. AI and the rise and the continuing exposure of internet and all this information, we are literally drowned out of being in tune with ourselves because there's too much external information. I'm telling you one thing, somebody else is telling you something else. You're going on reels and you've got all these different opinions of all these different people. Like, who are you supposed to listen to? What I'm telling you is, yeah, you can listen to them people, you can take bits of advice, but really you are the driver of your own life. You are the person who knows where you need to go, not somebody who's got millions of followers and subscribers. That person might be able to give you some guidance, but ultimately you're the only person who can help himself or herself. You're the only person who knows where they need to go. And you only know that when you're in tune with yourself, when you're picking up on all these impulses and sensations and instincts and trusting them, right? But with all the noise and all this information, it distracts us. It makes us look outside for answers instead of relying on my internal GPS, right? Which knows me better than anybody else knows me, right? So that's one of the main reasons. And it's only going to get worse, I think, with more and more AI and more advanced forms of technology. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against technology. We just need to put it in its right place, right? You need to be in control of your life. You need to be the head. Okay, you need to be the king or queen of your own life. And then you can use technology intelligently, but don't use it all of the time, giving away your sovereignty not even thinking or making decisions for yourself, right? See this a lot with ChatGPT. People are always asking it the smallest little things. And you might think that's not a problem, but it can be a problem. I would prefer to rely on myself for things that I can probably get right. I don't need to find out everything. So the second reason, it's obviously trauma. I just touched upon this. When you're in survival mode, you're experiencing a lot of negative emotion, a lot of dysfunctional thoughts. You're always in your head, right? Because of the trauma you've been through, you probably didn't feel very safe in your body. And so now you're over analytical, right? That's the way you kind of try to keep yourself safe. And by always being in your head, right, out with your body, then you're not in tune with this internal GPS. Because internal GPS is more somatic than mental. Obviously, there is a psychological component to it. In fact, I'd say there's 3 areas that you need to focus on. One is like your gut, right? That's the real source of intuition. You hear this all the time, right? Trust your instincts, trust your gut. There's intelligence there. There's intelligence in your heart, trust your heart, and your brain, right? The 3 have a connection. The 3 should be working in some type of harmony. However, most of us, especially if you're living in survival mode, you're making most of your decisions from your brain, right? Because your body's got too much trauma in it. You're dysregulated, right? Your system's not at peace. So what I would suggest you do is you work on nervous system healing. I have a lot of videos on these topics, so go ahead and check them out. But that's the first part of healing this. Now, the second part is how can you actually begin to live in alignment with your true essence, which will actually make you a much more confident and authentic person. So to move into this next part of the video, I just want to give you a definition of how I define confidence. This is just a definition I came up with. Right? I'm not saying it's the ultimate perfect definition. It's just one definition, which is confidence is living in alignment and trusting your unique desires, impulses, motivations, and emotions while finding healthy expression for them. So what does that mean? Well, like I've been talking about, your internal guidance system is always speaking to you. To be truly confident means you can hear what your system is telling you, the guidance it is giving you, the motivation, the direction it wants you to go. But then it's finding a healthy expression for them, right? It's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to do it, right? So the second part is to trust and to do it, to find a healthy expression, right? And by healthy expression, I mean, you don't go out there trying to hurt people intentionally. You don't do bad things. You need to use a little bit of discernment here. But ultimately, you are expressing who you truly are, all these instincts and impulses and emotions and needs and wants and feelings, everything that's coming up through you, are you able to give them expression? So when you give them expression, let's say you are in a job which you don't really like, okay? You know you don't like the job. Now, a lot of people will feel this, but they'll just stay stuck there. They're not allowing their need for change any sort of expression. So that feeling or thought comes up, I want to leave my job. But you don't give it a voice. You don't express it. You don't act on it. So then the feeling or the message you send back to yourself is, my feelings don't matter. They don't matter, right? A part of me doesn't like this. It hates it. It wants to do something else, but I'm just going to ignore it. I want to play safe, right? Everyone tells you to play safe. World's scary, play safe. But you actually dishonor yourself every time you ignore something you know you should do. If, however, you did the thing, feeling arose, I know I should be doing something else, and you had the courage to pursue it and do it, now when your feelings arise, you have these internal signals and you act on them. The message you send to yourself is, all right, okay, I must be worthy. I act on what I feel. So it reinforces and it builds your self-confidence, right? And eventually, as you start to live your life more in this way, you trust your impulses and instincts more, and you act on them, your confidence builds. Your life starts to build momentum, literally like a snowball. It's crazy how fast your life can change when you start to trust yourself and act on the things that you feel, right? And move your life in that direction. Now, one thing I will say is sometimes the things that come up might be a little bit different from the direction you wanted and originally thought you were going to go, right? Because the direction you were originally going, that was probably just all mental mind stuff or influence, things you'd picked up from other people like social media or whatever, right? When you start to tune into yourself and it's thinking, you know what, go a different way, right? You probably don't need to go that way. You need to go this other way. It can be difficult to let go of these old ideas. I'm actually struggling with this same thing with my YouTube channel. Like sometimes I question if I'm making the right kind of content, right? Sometimes I think I should be going in a different direction. So it's difficult, right? There's a big element of trust here, but you need to gamble, right? There's a big part of this is to gamble and trust. And the more you trust it, honestly, I believe you will make better decisions. If you lived 1,000 years ago, right, when you didn't have all this technology, you would have been much more tuned into your instincts and impulses. You had to be. You didn't have Google. You didn't have ChatGPT. You didn't have information overload, right? So you needed to tune in more to your senses, to your instincts and impulses and emotions and all of that stuff, right? But we're losing it. We're losing our humanity, and our humanity is our power. So what I would suggest you do is almost use your desires as a path to self-mastery. So like I've just talked about there, you might have the desire to change your job, right? Change your job. Have the courage to do it. And then when you've exhausted that desire and you got sick of that job, go to the next level. The next level might be, I want to work for myself, right? And then you exhaust that level, then you go to the next level. Maybe now you want to help other people. And then you exhaust that level and then you go to the next level. It's literally like a video game, right? You're constantly leveling up. You're never getting stuck on one desire. Another thing we often see is people get stuck on one desire, right? Maybe that desire is, I just want to make money, right? And people just get stuck the whole life, consumed with just making money. They've never grown past that level, right? They think the whole life is just about making money. What I'm telling you to do, you can use the path of desire. Your instincts and impulses are telling you all the time what you want, is to go for what you want, trust your instincts, eventually understand that you will outgrow it, right? Which is just a part of life. There's nothing to be depressed and sad about. And then you'll find a higher desire, okay? And then you exhaust that one, right? And then your feelings and impulses will tell you that there's a higher desire, and you keep going higher and higher and higher. And eventually you might reach the point where you don't want to do anything. You just want to sit and meditate for 10 hours a day, right? Because your desire literally just took you through all these levels. But that's true kind of self-mastery. A lot of people just try to bypass all these levels and go, I'm just going to go to the top, I'm just going to meditate 10 hours a day. Maybe that works. But for me, I think it's more enjoyable to just work through these levels and enjoy the challenges of life, right? All the time, building more authenticity, getting more in tune myself, understanding myself more and more deeply, right? Because essentially you're just peeling off layers, layer after layer. Every desire you pursue and you achieve it and go to the next level, you let that one go, you've peeled off a layer, right? Now there's more of you available, more authenticity, more confidence, okay? So that's the message here for you, is to get in tune with yourself. Where do you need to go? What are all these signals and impulses? What are they telling you? Are you able to trust them, act on them, give them expression? They want to be expressed. This is another way of saying this is how you honor yourself. You honor yourself by trusting what you feel and acting on it. Builds tremendous self-confidence. And like I said, that self-confidence and authenticity will just snowball. Honestly, it goes quite quickly if you can let go, right? And just trust it. So I think that's everything I've got to talk about in this video. If you have anything to add, any questions, any comments, anything at all, hit me up down below. If you want to watch more things like this, feel free to check out these videos right here. But until next time, God bless.